So today, I actually want to do a little bit of a different kind of video. That is something that I hope is going to be disruptive to 2021 and how people can develop. So I have a prototype based on Neon 3 version 3 that will basically enable you to use Vue in a way that you've never thought about before. So there are things that happen, like in the end of 2020, Neon 3 version 3 came out, so new main version of Vue came out, Vue 3, and new version of PHP came out with the JIT compiler, making the fastest interpreted language by far out there. So what does that mean? The following. I want to introduce the concept of a frac end, right? This is an old dream that, never seemed to be possible I don't really want to get into a lot of details, but what we're going to do is we're going to write a full stack application within only several minutes. And we're only gonna do that by writing the back end. Yeah, you heard me right. You don't really need to know anything about PHP in order to do this. So this is a little bit of a different kind of video, so you probably noticed that I don't really participate too much into the YouTube community. I more or less use this channel to kind of like show a couple of tutorials and teach about things. This time it's different, so don't worry, still no commercials, but this time I'm actually going to ask you what every person on this platform normally asks you, and please like, subscribe, and share this video if you think, and so I'm not going to solicit anything, if you think that this approach might make sense and that we should get a crowd behind such a concept. So let me start by the following. We are going to have our own SQL database, so no external services and so on. Like this is going to run completely locally, with the exception of is there anything that we load from the outside? I don't think so. Yeah, the material design icons, but that's it. Okay, so first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a model, right? So we're going to have a simple note application. So note taking. So I'm going to say Neon 3, so just CLI commands, new model, and then let's call it note. Why not? Right? So here I'm going to go to migrate, select note, and so my note will have a title. I'm going to make this super primitive. Yep. And that's a varchar 60, that's fine, and it's going to have a content, which is going to be a text area. Sorry, this is not SQL, a text. That's it. So this generated this migrate JSON. I need that to basically generate the database structure accordingly. So now when I say Neon 3 migrate models up, and then use the credentials that I've stored or create new ones. In that case, I already stored the credentials for it. Then this should be taken care of. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create note as a endpoint as in Vue. So I'm going to say PHP Vue note. Okay, so far so good. And then now I'm going to say note.vue. Okay, it's going to open that. Now this is the only file we're going to touch. Okay, this is so this should already be here, right? So let's do hello world, and let's see what happens if I go to note. Okay, so I'm here. So far so good. So as you can see, this looks like a regular .vue component. The only difference that you might notice is that there's this template that is still necessary as of this prototype. Other than that, it's 100% Vue. Okay, so I'm going to start with a very simple premises, and I'm going to say I want to have a container. In this container, I'm going to have a section that has grid 6.6. Okay, so here on the left, we're going to have our notes. Here will be notes, and here we're going to have our here be form. Okay, got it. So as we can see, we probably want to have a margin top here, and then okay, and then here we're basically going to prepare how this is going to work. So on this side, we're going to take new notes, right? So I'm going to create a form. So this is going to be a little bit ugly, so don't, bear with me here. So we're going to have an input type text with a v model note title, and maybe a placeholder of title. And then we're going to have a text area. It doesn't need a name and ID, but it does need a v model note. Did we call that content? Yeah, I think so, right? Content, and then we're probably going to need a button that submits it. Okay, so far so good. So it's bitching here because we don't really have a data, so let's create that. So shortest form of writing that is probably like this, and so we say, okay, there is not title, note, and note has a title, which is empty for now, and content, which is empty for now. And actually, sorry, but I just need to verify that we actually called this content, because I can't remember already. Yeah, we called this content. Okay. So far so good. So no magic here, right? So what we should be seeing here is title and this input. And the only interesting part about that is that we have this rendered on the server side, right? Server side rendered at the same time an SBA takes over. We will see how that works in a second. So as you can see, there are no reloads if I do this, right? This is purely the SBA taking over. So something that you might know from Nuxt or Next or whatever you're working with. Okay, so now let's get to some kind of magic, right? So we also need notes. Notes, and notes shall be an array. And then here, I guess, we will say, let's give this a class name of note, and then say v for note in notes. And then, actually, let's give this a little bit of a different class here and say, okay, so we need a padding of 5, we need a margin of 2, we need a border rounded, we need a border 1, and we need a border primary, just to see how that looks like. And then here we're going to say note title and node content. Okay, so far so good. And of course we don't have any notes, so let's make sure that that changes. Okay, so you just saw that flashing, by the way, proving that this is rendered server side before you actually see it, but it's not filled out. So let's take care of this in a second. But so first, let's make sure that the actual reactive magic works, right? So here, let's start defining what the backend needs to be doing. So I'm going to write an import statement like this, right? And then create a JSON in there. So I'm going to say store. Let's create the store. And the store is going to be consisting of note. And note has a get, which is auto in that case, and post, which we also completely want to automate. So the reason why there are particular keywords that you don't have to worry about, but this is supposed to be no bottlenecks, so you can always have custom functionality for this. Okay, actually in this case, let's preload this, right? Just so we're sure that this is the case, and if we do so, we can basically here say N4, so for the server-side rendering, and then say note as note. Alright, so the flashing should be gone, it's still there at this point. And let's see why. Well, we probably have to finish our logic first. Okay, so let's inject this into our logic and say, okay, here we have our neon store. Okay, so far so good. And here in mounted, let's make this an asynchronous function and use this store and attach it now directly and say, okay, this note is await neon this neon store yeah, get all will do, and we need note, right? You can see that's that one, and that, well, that's all we need for now. So far so good. And here in our form we want to have an at submit, and that is going to be neon store come on, store dot post. Same thing here, we say we're going to post note and say this note, sorry, not this, in that case we're directly in the markup. Okay, so far so good. The only thing we kind of need to take care of from a JavaScript standpoint is to make sure that this form is not causing a reload. Okay, so so far so good. Now, does this already? Yeah, actually, this is all we need, right? Am I missing something? No, I think this is all we need. Okay, so let's refresh this and basically see that and say first note, and here is my content, and create, and as you can see, it directly works. Now, if I reload it now, like, you don't see the flashing anymore. Why? Well, because if you actually look at the source code, right, you can see that this is actually written to the DOM, right? So what happens is that here, this end note, this is basically what happens when we attach it. So this is when the view takes over. We can actually test this in a very simple way, and in our mounted, say something very simple. Here we're going to say, well, this will be too fast probably. Content, yeah, let's do the following and simply do this one and say view loaded. Okay, so here you see that, and then you just kind of like see it flashing for a second when it takes over. So that's the point where the SBA takes over the application. It's really hard to spot because the server-side rendered content is exactly as the SBA output, of course, right? Because we're writing just one template, and that's already it. I mean, this is how easy it can go. And we could look at the database if you wanted to. Let's see if I have that open somewhere. Indeed. So here's my note, and as you can see, here's my title and my content. So let's quickly go over there again and say second entry, another note, right? And then create, and in that case I need to refresh it, and I can see here's my second entry. So this all works, and is basically a full stack application that is reactive. You don't need to set up your Vuex store. You don't need to create your whatever Express backend or how you normally handle this. You don't need to worry about compilation. There's no build process, right? This comes out of the box. there is, what, did I write something down? Well, you don't have to worry about SEO, that's taken care of. You don't have to worry about like how things are attached when you make particular calls, and then need to commit back to the store and so on. It's all one unified system from the perspective of the developer. So you can develop rapidly fast, and the output is I mean, now it's not optimized. You know what? I'm willing to bet that I still get over 70% in my lighthouse. Let's check it out. It's actually pretty ugly here, but yeah, 89%, right? So it's lightning fast, even without being optimized. There is an optimization process that you can run, that like the stuff like purging CSS that is not used, all that kind of jazz. Something that at this point I don't want to get into, because here we're simply talking about the idea of, okay, how would a application look like if you built based on this premise. And I would really like to get your feedback on it, because I do think that that solves a huge issue, actually more issues that I have time and the patience to go into right now. But please let me know how you feel about it, if you kind of like have ideas of how that would help you work, because I guess I'm about like a month out from presenting this to the open source world, and I'd like to get feedback early, and don't shy away from also any kind of questions, if you know alternative solutions, stuff like that. Thank you so much, and I hope to hear from you soon.